What's going on, you guys? Welcome to the Unlock Your Freedom podcast with Kevin Kepple. If you're looking to create more in your life, and if you want more of anything, it's not about doing more, it's about being more. So I'm excited you're here, and I'll see you guys on the inside. Alrighty, I know you've been through a lot of changes and really just continually evolving towards, the very best version of you. So I'd love to know, how you really keep going when life happens, so to speak, and what you've learned and what you're growing to.
That's a great question, Kevin. Thank you for asking that because I think about this every day, just about when I wake up in the morning. And my foundation is built on my relationship with God. It's not about what religion I'm involved, my personal relationship with Him, and reminding myself that all of these challenges that I've been going through, and some have been traumas, it was not just about me. Yes, it was me going through it, but it really wasn't about me. I was told by my grandmother, Alice Presley, at a very young age, that you have greatness in you and you need to share it. You need to speak. You have a voice. And so I know whatever I'm going through, lifing, I need to share it with other people to give them not motivation, because I'm not really much on motivation, but inspiration and a vision that, oh my goodness, you went through that and you can do it, then so can I. So my foundation, everything is really rooted in not just my faith and my relationship with God.
Yeah, well, I mean, we wouldn't be here without him. And I think that you just described a really phenomenal version of what I kind of think of as the point of life. And to me, it's about understanding what makes us unique and how we can use that to create value for other people. And when I'm in that place, it's good because I'm not worried about me. And that's a good thing, when I'm really focused on helping other people, get whatever it is they want, so to speak. And I love that that's what you just said, or that's what I heard at least. And I love, the things that you do to serve. Like you serve people as a divorce strategist and coach, and from separation to liberation, I think is your something I read on your website, and I'd love for you to talk to us about that. And what drove you to do that, and how did we get here?
Yeah, divorce strategist. That's like, wow. So when I was 9 years old, I went through my first divorce because my parents decided to divorce. So people don't think of it that way. You think of that you were married. Well, everyone around them is going through this divorce. And I watched my parents tear each other apart. I watched them say all kind of things about each other, to me, but nobody put me first. They ignored me. They spoke badly to me about me. I wasn't important. And it's not like they just said it. They showed me. And remember laying in bed and I said, first of all, I'm getting married and I'm never getting a divorce. Did not happen that way. And I said, but if I do, I'm always going to make sure my children know how much they are loved. And I'm going to do whatever it takes that they are staying in contact with their dad, because I don't want them to ever feel the way I felt. And I said, and I also want to help, especially women, not be so bitter, busted, and disgusted because they've gone through a divorce, because I want them to heal. Now, this is something I'm saying as a little girl. I don't know, I guess I'm going to say that God placed that in me because I did accept Christ at a very young age. And then life happened. And I completely forgot about that. Got married, had children. Then when it was time to go through a divorce, it popped up. And I was like, oh my gosh, I got to make sure. So I went through a whole lot. It took me 3 years and 3 attorneys. And I had 3 children and a dog going through a divorce. I was in school, didn't have my own money. I was a stay-at-home mom at this point. And I was like, I have to do whatever it takes, even though the judge says, no, I don't want him to see the children until you go through get everything finalized. I went against them because he was a good dad. He just was no longer a good husband. And I tried my best not to talk bad about him. And so like you go through that, I become a registered nurse, and, then we move forward and COVID happens. February, I had COVID, but nobody knew it was COVID, right? Now I'm an RN and I do ER. So went to the doctor. They were like, you have something, but it's not the flu. We don't know what it is. I lost my sense of smell, my taste. I was weak. I was coughing. My chest was full. I was miserable, but they couldn't tell me why. Well, of course, my sense of smell came back. My sense of taste is still wonky, but I was ready to call 911. So if you're in healthcare, especially a nurse and a doctor, and you're about to call 911, you know you're sick because we try to fix ourselves. And I literally said, God, if you give me grace, I will share my story and I will give you credit. Because see, this is what I was supposed to have been doing. But I went on with my life and like, I ain't doing that. Nobody's gonna listen. Nah, right? Life happens. And I went in the bathroom. My grandparents and families from the South. So you steam up the bathroom and everything came out. And I started actually feeling better after that. Then the next month, we find out it's COVID, right? But I made a commitment and a promise to God that I would share my story, even if it made me, didn't put me in the best light or made me feel uncomfortable. So being a Christian, being involved in church, Sunday school teacher, been a missionary, but all these things, and now I'm going to talk about divorce. I'm like, oh, they're going to chew me up, spit me out, because everybody's about marriage. And my message is not that I'm against marriage because I believe in it, but when you're going through a divorce, you have to strategize. Before becoming an RN, I was started out in the word processor, then moved up to legal secretary, then worked for partners. They loved my work and said, you catch on quickly. They trained me to be a paralegal and they were going to send me to college to be a lawyer, but I decided I couldn't stand them lawyers in general because I wasn't helping anyone and I wanted to help. That I'm a nurturer. I'm a servant, right? So I didn't feel that I was using my talents the way they should. That's why I moved over into nursing. And I was like, no, people need to strategize. Don't do it like I did. I'm done. I want a divorce. He ain't got no money, cars in his name, apartment, children in private school. What's the matter with you? Healthcare, everything, and you don't have a plan. So I just want people to know that, like, going through that divorce process, it's emotional, but there's a healing process that you should be going through as you go through it. And there's steps and strategies. This is chess. It ain't checkers.
Mhm. Yeah. So when you're talking about, you just use that word healing, and I think that one of the things that's really important for me to remind myself, and I think everybody could benefit from understanding that, like, even when I'm healing, I can still have happiness. Like, just because I'm healing doesn't mean I'm broken or something's wrong with me. Like, yeah, something could be better, but, like, even though I'm healing, I can still find joy because joy is love expressed. And John said in the Bible straight up, God is love. And so that joy is what unlocks us. That's what allows us to heal faster. And I'd love for you to really share some of your ideas around just, finding the good in the hard.
Yes. It just seems like, as my grandmother said, and she was a woman, she was a prayer warrior and a woman that had a relationship with God and involved in church from the time she used to sing in the choir, the whole thing. So she said to me one day, baby, I'm so sorry that you have two of the worst parents that I know of, but I need you to know that I want you to be there for them one day when they need you, even though they have neglected you, even though they've abused you, even though they've talked bad about you, even though they haven't supported you, they're going to need you. And I need you because you have a relationship with God and you're forgiving yourself and you're healing, you're going to go to therapy. You're going to be able to reach out not only to your parents, but to other people. And when you hear these things, now look, in the Black family, you do not talk back, roll your eyes, suck your teeth. But in my head, I was rolling my eyes, sucking my teeth, like, what is she talking about? And this is the way my grandparents spoke to me my whole life. They didn't really do baby talk. They made me think. Critical thinking, they started very early, but I didn't understand. But I know I went through so many traumas. And every time I knew once, because I was raised by my grandparents, right? So the representative you have here is TrevisMichelle, and this is from Alice and Clarence Presley, because I made a conscious decision not to take those things that my mother and father were, but to learn from them and not to take the low hanging fruit, because then I could have been miserable. I would be a miserable person. Oh, I would be. And people could say, if you knew like some of the traumas, you have a right to be. My therapist did. They were more upset with what I went through than I was because I was healing.
Yeah.
but I knew there's happiness. I said, but God, you know what? I could be dead. When I had a trauma happen to me and I tried to kill myself, they took me to the doctor, to the ER, and they were like, because of this person having so much power, they were able to flip it around. But you know what? They pumped my stomach and I'm still here. There's so many other things. And I was like, well, there's hope. And so everything I go through, I was like, but there's hope. When I was diagnosed in 2021 with cervical cancer, to me, after all I'd been through, I was like, okay, this is light work. And I know it sounds crazy because cancer, this is no joke. Look, I'm telling you, any cancer is no joke. But I said, this is light work because I have the tools and I'm going to hear the curable part, and no weapon formed against me shall prosper. And God said I shall live and not die. And I'm going to smile my way through it. And so my happiness is from the inside because the teams, my medical team said, you are the happiest cancer patient we have seen in such a long time. And I looked at them kind of like, I can barely walk. I'm barely here. But I made sure I got dressed because that's what my grandparents taught me. You're representing God, family, and yourself. So you don't have to look like what you're going through. And so when you do that, you can't help but feel good, right? And I had to think of it, happiness is temporary, but joy comes in the morning. So I had to learn about joy because that lasts even in your darkest times.
And that is like such a cool confirmation of the quote that I'm always keeping in front of me. And I've heard it said a lot of different ways, but this one I think was from Wayne Dyer. And it's just really simple. What you focus on, you create more of. I'm focused on joy, like I'm immediately have more joy. And that's why gratitude is such a powerful thing. And I focus on the things I'm grateful for. That's focusing on love. And like, man, like love is the solution to everything because love is God is love. And that's like, our birthright. And that's where we create. And that's where we collaborate. And that's where we do beautiful things that have never existed. And man, like what a powerful thing because the good news is I don't have to believe everything I think. Sometimes it's just a thought. But, I think a lot of people get trapped in these thoughts of like pain and sadness and like, yeah, you know what? It's just a thought, I don't have to believe it. I'll wait for a better one to come along. And it just sounds like you just really have this level 10 mindset that allowed you to, see what you did want as opposed to what you didn't want. I'd love to shift gears a little bit and talk about collaboration and community building because before we started recording, you were talking a little bit about that and how important that is. And I know you do a lot of work with Les Brown, and that's amazing. I think everybody knows who that is. And you're actually in Miami about to work with him. And I'd love to just hear your thoughts on the importance of community and collaboration and, any strategy you have for that.
Wow, I'm tearing up. Guys, look, once you've had, you're a cancer survivor, you have emotions and I'm okay with it. I'm comfortable with them now. But I don't want you to think that something's wrong. Doesn't mean I'm crying or sad. But, you know, Kevin, it just hit me. Les Brown has been my mentor in my mind for years, literally years, because he was always in New York City and I would go and listen in the audience. I was reading his books. I was anything, anywhere I could hear him. He would say, if you fall down on your back. Because if you fall down on your back, you can look up, you can get up. And I always play that in my head, right? And one day, so during COVID was horrible, but some good stuff did come out of it, right? Millionaires came out of it, research, all kinds of good things. And one of them was, I said, you know what? Okay, God, I'm going to speak. And I told my children, I have three children, they're adults, Sasha, Kale, and Kalik. And Kalik is also my caregiver. And I said, I'm going to be on stages. I'm going to be on stage with Les Brown. My children support me in everything. Now, behind my back, they talk about me like, really bad sometimes. But to my face, they just said, okay, Ma. And I told my very small community. And they were like, yeah, if anybody's going to do it, you are. How was I going to do that when nobody knew me? But because of COVID and our being home, I signed on to like, okay, I'm going to speak on this platform. How am I going to get out there? And guess who one of the speakers on the platform was? Les Brown. So when I said I'd be on a platform with him, because I said it and I saw it, I didn't know how it was going to happen. Sometimes we want to know everything. Okay, I'm talking about me. I want to know how it's going to happen. But I've learned when you say, God, tell him what you want, then you have to act. You have to put stuff in action, right? And that's what happened. So I'm looking for a speaker coach, and I'm like all over the place. I was supposed to be a confidence coach. I mean, I was doing everything except what I promised God I was going to do, and that was speaking. And I was like, why is it so hard? Why is it so difficult? And finally, last summer, I'm celebrating getting through chemo, radiation, surgery, a whole lot of stuff. And I go into it was Target, and I had my dog. He passed away. I had to put him down in September. He was 13 and a half years old, Steeler. That was my road dog. But I had him in my arms, and these two Black women were there. And I was just like, wow, they're beautiful. I'm going to tell them that. Sometimes when you see people and they look nice, you should share that,
Yeah.
right? And I said it, and they said, they kind of looked at me a little bit and they were like, thank you. And then they started talking about my dog. Well, they said, I told them I was there, I was celebrating my birthday. And they said, well, guess what? We want to take you to lunch. Now, I
Mm.
have never seen them in my life. We go to lunch, I share with them my story, and I tell them about Les Brown. And one woman looks at me and she goes, oh, well, he's my friend. I'm a New Yorker, guys. Yeah, yeah, whatever. Everybody knows Les Brown. You know what I mean? Right?
Yeah.
And I just said, oh, okay. I was very polite as I'm eating my crabs. And she hands me the phone and she says, it's Les Brown on the phone. I didn't know what to do. She had called him. She says, first of all, he never answers like this. He usually has to call me back later. And he poured into me immediately on that spot, not knowing me, but because of his friend. And he says, why haven't we worked together? And I said, because I'm special. I said, I don't want to be a part of everyone else. I want to make sure I stand out. Meanwhile, I'm thinking, are you crazy? You're talking to Les Brown, your mentor, and this is like what's wrong with your attitude? But it's the truth. And he says, we are going to work together. And then, we're into the conversation. And he says, call me. And he had her give me his personal phone number. Months I didn't call because I was afraid. And people who know me be like, you? I was choked up afraid. And I'm not impressed by a lot of people, but I was like, I'm not ready. I got to be perfect. I have to practice some more. I haven't done enough. I don't have the credentials. I had all of these thoughts, like you were saying, in our head. And my community kept saying, so how come you haven't called them? What's the matter? You've been speaking on Instagram since 2017, even before COVID. You're speaking on stages. You speak for companies. What are you doing? And I said, you know what? I'm going for it. And so I called to be a part of the Speaker Academy, and they said, we need you to be a protege. And I was like, what's that? Well, you get to co-author. I said, I don't want to co-author. I said, I don't care about that. I want the speaking part because I know I'm focused. And they said, no, he's looking for someone with that in the divorce realm. Who would have thought? Because I decided to be true to myself, stick to what I believe in, but I had to go around the barn, guys. And when I'm sharing this, it's not because it was easy. I went through a lot of bumps. I had to go through against cervical cancer because my daughter said to me one day, she says, Ma, aren't you supposed to be speaking? I was like, yeah, I know, but I'm working and blah, blah, blah. She says, well, God has sat you down again. And if you don't pay attention and do what he said and what you're supposed to do, it's all on you. And I'm like, first of all, my neck was going, my daughter, how you talking? I didn't, we were on the phone, so she couldn't see it, but she was right. And I'm saying all of that to say your community is so important, but your community is who you say your community is, right? Because when I was at Creative Con, which is where I found out about you, Kevin, I spoke on that, a workshop on building community and the resilience, as business entrepreneurs. But before you're a business entrepreneur, before you're a parent, before you're a podcaster, before you're an employee, you are you. So how you see yourself and what you tell yourself is so important. And now I'm in Miami, and for 3 days, I'm not in a large venue. Remember, I said I'm special with thousands of people. Les Brown speaks to thousands of people at a time. He gets paid a lot of money. No, it's a small group of us. There, and I went to see where we'll be for the next 3 days. Very small group that we get to touch and agree. He's going to know who I am. So believing in yourself and then having that community around you, like you saying yes to be on your podcast, this is all a part of it. And then I said yes, but I was nervous Because I'm telling other people, oh, yes, I'm going to be on Kepple. And they're like, what? You're going to be on that podcast? And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, that's a big deal. Do you understand? I was like, okay. But I know I'm walking the way I'm supposed to in the path that I'm supposed to go on and believing. Sometimes I don't believe in myself. Let's stop acting fake, like, oh, you have to believe in yourself and everything. Sometimes I
Yeah.
just don't. And I just had some scans done because you have to be checked, and they were really looking to see if any tumors came back and recurrence. I've been in my head. I have had negative thoughts, but positive thoughts, but still there. I'm human. And I was like, I got a clean bill. I'm going forward. And then I guess what? 10 days ago, I had the flu. So when you're starting to get on a path and this things, life starts happening, but I refuse to give up. And before I stopped, I drove from New York City Monday morning at 7 and ended up in Miami at 1:20 in the morning. And I went straight through by myself. And I could have been on that Key Bridge because I drive it all the time. And to know, and it was so weird because I started to take it, but it was early in the morning. It was in the morning. So it was like 12 hours before. And something was like, no, don't go that way. And I was like, why? I always go that way. And by the time I made it to Miami, that's when the bridge fell. And I
Mm.
was like praising God because I have been going up and down the Key Bridge from either North Carolina or Miami for the last 5 years.
It's
So,
That's some profound stuff. Holy cow. But I think that you did what you're saying is like for whatever reason, God doesn't give us the fully formed plan. That's our ego that gives us the fully formed plan. This is what it needs to be. God gives more like breadcrumbs. He's like, hey, let's go this way. And it's these like subtle like whispers. And the more you listen to it, the easier it is to hear.
yes,
In my experience. And I love that you're open to the subtle nudges or shoves he gives you sometimes. And man, that's beautiful. God, this has been amazing. I'm so grateful we got the opportunity to do this. I'd love to transition to the end here and ask you a couple of questions I like to ask everybody. So first one, what does freedom mean to you?
oh my gosh. Freedom means to me, and it's changed. Like every decade that you're alive, freedom changes. Right now, freedom is the fact that I can be 100% TrevisMichelle. I am TrevisMichelle, reforming people pleaser. I
Ooh,
don't concern myself all the time now with, are you happy? What did I do? Let me flip, let me roll. What are you thinking? And it's not that I don't care, but it's not my concern anymore. My concern is me. And it's not being selfish in a bad way, it's being selfish in a healthy way. Our mental health is so important, and putting that first, I know that I'm on the right path. And being able to get in a car, I like cars, all right? Yes. So I have a WRX. It doesn't have any mufflers. I pop it. It's a 6 speed. It has stickers on it. I'm part of a club.
that's
People look at me,
amazing.
they're kind of like, that's your boyfriend's car, your husband's car. No, it's mine. I didn't drive that to Miami because I have 141,000 miles on it now. But that freedom of being able to get in my car and hit the road is so empowering. Coming from New York, driving down, and people are like, okay, you have to stop and rest. You don't want to get a blood clot. We want you to exercise when you get out the car. And I did all of those things, but I'm seeing the green in the trees and the grass a different way because I have the opportunity to live. My relationship with my 3 children is so solid because I had to put in the work. I had to apologize to them for some things that I didn't do the best because we don't as parents, right? And they accepted it. And I can talk to them about anything and they're my support. And I'm okay walking away from people that don't serve me. So that's freedom for me.
Absolutely. That was such a exceptional explanation of boundaries right there. And I think it's like really important that we understand no is a perfectly acceptable one word sentence. Like no.
Mhm.
And like because I don't, like Jesus said it. He's like, shake the dust off your feet and go to the next town if they're not ready to hear the message. And I used to have a boss who would say that to me. He'd go, Kevin, if Jesus Christ couldn't save everyone, what makes you think you can? And I would get so frustrated. I'm like, don't talk to me when you're right, because he was right, but I didn't want to hear it at the time. I had my own ideas of what was right. And so I love that. Okay. What's a favorite book to read, recommend, or give away?
Okay. So right now, I am really delving into the 12-week year. If you haven't noticed, I'm type A.
Mhm.
I'm independent. You can see, if you can't see, of course, you're on a podcast. I'm a Black woman. ER has been my specialty for 20 years. So I'm a registered nurse. I'm a go getter, right? And being able to now section off, just take it 90 days at a time, 12 weeks, instead of trying to do it for the whole year. And then I fall off, then I get upset with myself, then I have to start again. But when I break it down to 12 weeks, my brain, especially now that I've had chemotherapy too, because you think differently. It's like that makes it manageable. So what are my goals for 12 weeks? Let me stick to that. And it also allowed me, because I was Dr. Tavis Taylor, she's a pastor now. Uh, we were doing a fast at the beginning of the year, and she had us following along in a book for fasting, 40 days of fasting. And putting that together is like breaking it down in chunks. It's manageable. I know that I don't have to complete it, and whatever I didn't complete can flow over, but I did complete something, and that gives you joy and it keeps you going forward, because a lot of times we can get stuck, or at least myself. And then I'm like, oh, wait a minute, you got to get out of this. But when you know you have certain goals and you can say, okay, these are the goals, and don't make 20,000 of them. Okay. I've learned that. I
Yeah.
put too many down. What are your top 3 or 4 that you're going to master in 12 weeks? And if you get 2 of them done, that's 2 more than you did before, and then you can just carry over the other 2. So yeah, for me, that 12-week year by Brian Moran and his partner, that's what I'm really delving into right now.
I love that. And that's something I do with my clients. Like, hey, let's just focus on the next quarter because we can do a tremendous amount of things in a quarter. And then like if that's like a year, that's a long shift and a long time to wait to redo things. I think that's brilliant. I haven't read that, but I'm definitely gonna check it out. Alrighty, let's wrap it up with this two-part question. So first part of it, where can people go to learn more about you? Second part, tell everybody about your new podcast, please.
Oh my God. So I'm so excited. So you can definitely follow me at TrevisMichelle on Instagram and on Facebook. I do have a TikTok, TrevisMichelle1, and I'm still working on it. So, but just go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel as well, because how are you going to hear about me if you're not following me? So I really want people to go ahead and do that. The other thing, I told Kevin today about my podcast, Creative Con, founded by one of the founders, Julie Corcoran, and that was in February. I said yes. So someone said, you know what? I referred you, I recommended you because I can't go. And normally, Julie was like, yeah, we don't normally just take people we don't know, but you came highly recommended. And I'm thinking, Chicago, February, 20
Yeah.
below. I'm a New
Oh,
Yorker, but 20 below, the winds. I was thinking of everything. See those negative thoughts? And my community was like, you need to go, period. And I didn't even see myself as a creative. So I'm like, well, what am I going to talk about? I'm going to do a workshop. I'm a divorce strategist. How? But that building that community, whether you're going through a divorce, whether you're going through a health issue, whether you're starting a new business, whether you're moving to a new state, a new job, community is important, right? Because it does help with your resilience. Not because you're strong, because we're weak every day, but keep building so that you don't give up and you can keep coming back. So my podcast is called Divorce Strategist: Pain to Power, and
yeah.
we'll be discussing all aspects of divorce. And divorce, realize it doesn't mean that you were married only. It could mean that you're thinking about divorce. It could mean that you're in a 3-year relationship and you have a cat, dog, house, car, monies,
Yeah.
all of this, right? But how do you go and separate that and not come out, I like to say, busted and disgusted? So we're going to talk about what is it, co-parenting, effective communication, dating, after, like just living your life. But through my walk method, it's willing participant, W, A, action steps, L, love yourself. Not because you're getting your hair, nails done and stuff, because you're forgiving yourself, which leads you to freedom, and K, kicking butt unapologetically. So it's launching April 1st. I'm like so nervous about it, but I am so empowered because I'm around people like Kevin, like you, like this. It means so much. And going to Creative Con with the top 1%, I'm around top 1% podcasters. How would that have happened unless someone spoke my name and then I said yes?
Tell us the name again of the podcast. Make sure everybody caught it.
Yes, divorce strategist, the divorce strategist, pain to power.
The Divorce Strategist, Pain to Power with TrevisMichelle. And I would imagine it's probably going to be on Apple and Spotify and all the places. So check her out starting April 1st, which is next week. I can't believe that. I still feel like I'm in December last year somehow, but that's amazing. I can't wait to see that and support you on your journey. Thanks for coming on today. I really appreciate you just being powerful and transparent and just owning your genius. It's beautiful to watch. So, really grateful for our time together.
And thank you so much, Kevin, for you didn't know me, as they say, as my grandparents used to say, from a can of paint, and you said yes. Because again, someone spoke my name in my absence, and I have to do my outro now. This is my famous outro. Everybody, it's to the point that when I go and speak, people say it with me. I am TrevisMichelle. Too much for some, not enough for others. But guess what? I'm always just right for me.
Oh, man, I love that. Well said. Well, you guys, thanks for being here with us today. Somebody's going to benefit from Travis's message. So please, share this with anybody you think would benefit, or share it on social media. Give us a shout out. We really appreciate it. It really helps other people find us and really benefit from people's message that come on and share like Travis. So I love you guys. Thanks for being here. See y'all next time. Bye, everybody. Alrighty, you guys. Thanks for making it through to the end of the Unlock Your Freedom podcast with us. Really grateful to have amazing listeners like you. Thank you guys again for listening. We love you, and we'll see you next time.